Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and Emmys. Welcome to Warui Deshou Stream of 4, Episode 5, the 301045, that is. That is the Promised Neverland Episode 5. You get where I'm going with this. Anyway, I'm your usual compare of critical chaos, that is Shadon. Somewhere across the pond, several thousand miles of ocean between me and him, lucky for him right now, is, of course, the Soul Doctor.
Is space the sky?
Yes? I'm going to guess in this one.
That's what I wanted to know. There's a video game that came out called Sunless Skies, and it is about cosmic horror, like a weird London in space. And it just made me think, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I'm not sure space is the sky.
the sequel to fucking Sunless Sea, Weird London in an underground sea.
In hell. Yes.
Not hell.
I think it is hell. It's the
London
underworld,
is pretty hellish,
right?
to be fair.
It is not. It lets you go back up to the surface and stuff, and you have fun, and you see the sunlight.
Well, listen, hell might let you go back up to the surface. You would know. Have you discussed this with our Dark Lord? Is there a velvet rope?
Are you on work
I'm in
exchange?
the know. I'm in the know. I have connections. My opinions are not mine or my employer's. They are just direct stream of thought from Satan.
Well, anyway, that voice you're hearing there is, of course, Mephistopheles LLC's finest worker, Vorgelia.
Hello? Wait, that's me? Oh my god.
Yes, you just say,
Hi. Oh my god.
You're on 2-week release, you're on a work exchange program from hell, getting out to see your sites a little bit.
Exchange program from hell! Coming to theaters this summer.
I hope that's actually a film. That really should be. But unfortunately for the kids in the Promised Neverland, there is no exchange program. They are literally stuck in hell, as it is. So, there's your segue. We'll get into the episode in a moment, but I believe we might want to check Twitter polls from last week.
Twitter poll.
Let's check Twitter. So, here are the polls from last week, episode 4. Does Phil rule? 100% say yes. Very good. That's
what
I like to hear. We're on the same page with our audience. Do you now ship Emma x Gilda? 63% say yes, and 63% are right. Those are the polls.
Fair enough. Well, I play more hot poll action coming your way later, folks. But now let's talk about the episode. So, just one quick forward before we go into this.
Hot poll action. Sorry. I'm sorry. Please continue.
It's not. We're not doing Camgill stuff. We're not giving you choices on that kind of. But anyway, before we get into the episode proper, I do want to say that there's a lot to talk about and a lot to relate as far as the plot goes this episode. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I misquote, misspeak, misremember, etc., etc. I'm actually going to have the episode playing in silent on the background, so I can at least try and relate the details as they come along. But if I do omit anything, please feel free to correct me or the like.
It's old age. Please understand. We're only human.
I'm not. I'm a robot. You didn't know until now. Get fucked.
No,
anyway.
I think we established last season that we're in fact dancer, not human.
This is true. This is true. Alright, so this episode opens with a camera motion of a swinging pendulum inside a clock. Now, not going to make a big talking point out of this, but I want to point out two things firstly from this. Now, obviously, we left off on a cliffhanger last time, which was basically Norman going up to Ray like, "You did kill Colonel Mustard in the bathroom with a candlestick, you dick."
Right.
Well, not quite that exactly, but anyway, in order to re-establish tension, I think this is a magnificent way of getting off because, of course, tick tock, deathly silence. Who's going to speak first in response to this?
The pendulum camera was. I can't decide if it was too much. It's one of those things that was this is a lot.
Maybe overindulgent.
I don't know, but I'm willing to give the show latitude. So sure, pendulum camera, why not?
Yeah, at least the actual material isn't completely full of shit like other shows I've seen in my time. So I'm, as you say, I'm willing to be more on board with the camera work here. Second point I want to make here is that this is actually a metaphor for the scenes it plays out going forward. What do I mean by that? Pendulums in metaphor are often also used to, denote the swinging of momentum back and forth between two sides in conflict. You can have that be, a fist fight. You can have it be a full-blown war, etc. Or you can have it be banter between two kids who recognise, they might be eaten by demons in the near future and might want to possibly escape their confines. Just put that in the back of your head. So anyway, Ray initially feigns ignorance at this, like, nah, you're chatting shit. But Norman lays out the truth of the matter. This is the thing we got confused about in the previous stream before we did, which was that he actually hid 3 different sets of rope, and he hid 2 sets in different locations that he told Don Gilda from what he told Ray. And he hid it with, Ray knowing it's under the bed to deliberately trap him. It wasn't a case of him just suspecting Ray and going out on a limb. And so when he confronts Ray with this evidence, Ray just passes out on the bed and he starts laughing. And he's like, damn it! I was doing so well. And this is the point where the episode starts throwing in curious decisions with the facial expressions that Ray throws out. Curious is the word I use.
Something... Can we move back for a tiny second? If I recall correctly, so speaking of old age, he was basically like, yeah, he really told Gilda that it's in the bathroom, and he also told Ray that it's in the bathroom. So if Ray had decided to implicate Gilda instead of Dawn...
No, I think he gave 4 entirely separate locations.
4.
Yeah,
okay.
He didn't want it to be ambiguous. He deliberately wanted to make sure it was Ray.
That would just be that would be a true fuck up on Norman's part.
He just hides ropes everywhere. Although, is there an appropriate metaphor here in saying that he did
under the bed? That was Gil. That was.
Let me pull out my notes.
Look at my notes. I pull up my schematic.
Oh shit, we're gonna start putting pins on walls and shit. I mean, I'll be fair to Norman, though. He's pretty smart giving Ray a length of rope to hang himself with in this scenario. Sorry, had to be done. Anyway. So, yeah, Ray starts pulling out some psycho faces here, and I'm not really so sure on these, but I'm going to let it slide ultimately because the actual stuff that they're saying is still quite engaging. And I'll give credit to at least Norman's facial expressions when the momentum, you remember I said about the pendulum swinging back and forth, when as the conversation shifts in Ray's favour, when he turns the tables a little bit and Norman starts truly understanding the gravity of what he's dealing with here as, this whole... turgid shit pile of a present that's been delivered to him and it starts getting unwrapped. Anyway, so it turns out that Ray is indeed Mom's spy, and he's been Mom's spy for years, since he was probably quite young. Probably when he was 5, maybe, if I guess, You remember
we can
speculate on that.
Do you remember the flashback early on when they're little kids at the gate?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that might be when he turned, when he discovered the truth of the house, right? Because that
might have already been because he was pretty pretty not down about it, but pretty kind of sarcastic about it.
This is dumb.
He was already like he already knew what.
Come on, guys, let's go play video games. This is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a gate. I want to play more Mortal Kombat.
No, Fortnite. Let's get this correct. I mean, it's going to turn Battle Royale before we know it. That's the most likely scenario, apart from the Lord of the Flies shit I'm totally expecting.
It is 2045, so Fortnite is
Update
out.
your references. It's Apex.
Oh,
it is Apex now.
This is true, but I'm not expecting Norman to pilot a very tiny mech suit.
So Norman, Ray, and Emma watched the 13th official concert within Apex, or what?
I don't know. All I know is that if I start seeing any of these fucking kids flossing, I'm gonna can this entire show. Fuck that. Don't want it. No, thank you. Keep that shit in Fortnite where it belongs.
I saw a wrestler floss this weekend. It was quite a sight.
My dentist told me to floss every day. So I do.
My knees are white and pearly.
Shadon, now that we're
100 kids are dropped into a farm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. The circle is tightening. The circle is tightening. Norman, Ray, and Emma are a squad. This is a 3-person squad game. Gilda is stuck with Dawn and one other. Phil is a squad leader.
Oh, damn it. Sophie beat me to the joke I was going to make. Like, Emma gets down, the first thing she yells is winner, winner, chicken dinner. Oh, dear. Right, okay, so back to the plot. So, Ray doesn't leave...
I have a very important question.
Go on.
I see an open plastic bottle in the back of the shot, and I wonder what it is, because I want to make fun of it later.
What? It's just a Diet Coke bottle I've not got rid of.
Okay, good.
That's it. It's as innocuous as that. I'm very sorry to say it's not Old Spice or, a fucking pre-mixed Jack Daniels can. Or,
I'll figure something out. Let's continue.
Warui Deshou is a soda neutral podcast. We do not endorse any particular soda.
I almost misheard that as Sutra neutral, and I was like, fucking hell, Doc, what the hell have you been reading in your spare time? Jesus Christ, keep it to the show now. Alright. So anyway, Ray's indeed Mom's spy. He's been doing it for quite a while, and the conversation starts developing into the fact that, okay, Norman is actually alright with this in a sense. Not that he's okay with the idea of, Ray, his friend, it's something explicitly states, which is going to be key to something I want to talk about later, doing this, but moreover that he can turn it to his advantage, because you can have a double agent, So he makes a couple of requests of Ray, which is firstly, continue as you are, still being our friend, right? Give us all your information, and what the third one I think was to feed Mom false information if requested. I can't remember. Like I said, there's a lot.
The third one was to join them.
Yeah, come to my side, not to
Fair
our side. He said to my side, by the way, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's it. He actually changed. Norman actually changed his mind on this, as opposed to simply ratting Ray out and getting him, sent to probably be harvested because of his cock up.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks for
that's it.
Fucking...
Indeed, that is why Norman...
Just by existing, she makes plot points happen.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, I don't think that was just an apropos of nothing question. I think Norman was probably planning in his head at that point how he's going to pull off this little, deception, and he just wanted some, affirmation from Emma on what his ultimate action would be once he found the traitor, be it Ray or Don or Gilda or whoever. But Norman makes an excellent point here as he follows this discussion along, which is that, as was said before, Ray was the one who actually left little Bunny, Connie's doll, behind, and was the one who said in the very first episode... Wait a minute.
Can you please pronounce... Can you say little Bunny in Japanese? The way they did it.
I can't. I was only reading the subtitles. I was like...
it's just... It's literal. They just say little bunny.
Little bunny.
It made me happy.
So, Ray says, Ray reveals, he left Lil Bunny behind, and then he was the one who prompted back in episode 1 for Emma and Norman to go and catch up and give the bunny to him. So, in effect, he is the one who actually, through, puppet mastering his way through, made them find out. It wasn't a coincidence that they just happened to be there. It was orchestrated by him.
Yeah, and he told them, right? Like they were talking about it, and he was like, if you go now, you can still make it. I believe if you go back and watch episode 1, you will see that.
And not the first callback to previous episodes, by the way, but I'll get to that in a bit. So he, on top of that, has also been very vocal about the way in which the escape would happen. After all, if he was a spy for Mom, why would he ever suggest that he knew how to break the tracking devices? Why ever do that in the first place? So clearly, he, as Norman says, he's obviously not completely in Mom's pocket for this. But Ray says that he is doing this for a couple of reasons. First off, because he wants to get out himself. I think that's his goal, or has been his goal for a very long time. And only relatively recently has he decided that now the opportunity has presented itself, that he will bring Emma and Norman into the fold, and only them specifically. Because, as has been established, and is established again later, Ray feels that, the other kids are going to be a burden and will get them all killed. So why bring them along? A sentiment which we discussed previously, and which I will restate my opinion, which is, while I completely get his pragmatic, practical approach to this, I don't ethically agree with it, and I don't think that it's, the human thing to do is to simply keel over. Better to, fight back in futile resistance rather than just, let yourself go to the slaughter. But anyway, Ray reveals that he's also been getting 2 specific favors out of Mom by doing this. The first of which is that he has been, obviously delaying his own send-off to be harvested, potentially with a view maybe even to have it bypassed altogether, and maybe he might in turn become a full-fledged adult in the way that I suspect has happened with possibly some of the, like the sisters and the moms, etc. Maybe. But he's also been asking for various bits of junk. So obviously he's been asking, for fidget spinners. He's been asking for Beyblades, Pez dispensers, a Nintendo Switch.
Pogs.
He's getting all the good. Pogs.
Pog collection. No Sister Crone this episode. It just dawned on me.
God.
You're right. I noticed that, and I want to point something out. Right, I am a fan of a certain internet reviewer named SF Debris who does reviews of Star Trek, Voyager, amongst other things. Voyager being his bread and butter. When he rates episodes, he gives the episode a +1 bonus if Neelix doesn't appear. Who is Neelix? If you've not seen Star Trek, he's the complete and utter fucking albatross around the neck of that show. An already bad show by all accounts. So, in the similar vein, I will actually rate this episode higher merely by the fact that Crone does not appear in it at all. It's true.
Spoilers. I am highly suspicious that Crone will star in the next episode and will appear within the first 5 seconds.
Can I share a brief aside that you made me think of when you said, what's the name of the reviewer?
SF Debris.
SF Debris. Okay, so just the SF made me. This is so dumb. I don't know why stuff like this tickles
Ray
me.
does look like a Beyblade protagonist. Holy shit.
No, he totally does.
His hair is so sharp it'll cut you if you touch it.
Let it rip. Fucking there's I hate Beyblade so much, by the way, because like my kids watch the English dub Beyblade and it's fucking terrible. Jesus
Why
Christ.
did you do that? Why did you do that?
I didn't do it. I did not do it. But okay, no, they're autonomous beings who sought out this entertainment on their own accord. Back to the story I was going to tell. Then Vorgelia has to share her Beyblade history with all of us. Come clean about it.
Oh my god. Am I the person that now watches anime after being the person that doesn't watch anime?
Exactly. But there's a reader or listener or viewer, I don't know how they consume the podcast / YouTube show.
Potentially human?
Excuse me, but fucking fuck. But every time they like almost every post we do on the WordPress blog, the WordPress blog, waruideshow.wordpress.com is how we like push the podcast. That's the feed we put it in. And every time we drop a new post, this person likes it, and it makes me so happy to see their screen name pop up. And you made me think of it, Shadon, and I just want to shout out Dirty Sci-Fi Buddha. Because it's the greatest screen name I've ever heard. Thank you, Dirty Sci-Fi Buddha, for liking all of our posts. You're the best.
We are not worthy. We are not worthy of this. Thank you to the sacred yet dirty Sci-Fi Buddha. Thanks, sir. Okay, so Doc is trying not to spit his Doc's pepper out at the moment. Anyway, so after more discussion, Ray basically lays out that he'll do this. He'll become Norman's ace in the hole under one condition, which is the thing that he's actually pressed for previously, which is if we are going to, pretend that we're getting all the kids out, you dump a lot of them as soon as we get the chance, and it's just going to be us three. And you need to convince Emma to do that. Not, this, wishy-washy shit. It has to be, us three, and that's it. And again, he restates his reasons, which is, he knows that some of the kids, rightly, will be a burden. Again, stressing.
He's like, if we get literally anyone, it's gonna be Dawn and Gilda, like Max.
I even would argue, from his perspective, viewing it from his eyes, that even bringing them along is a liability, as the episode will later prove. But I'll discuss that when he gets to the point.
100%.
Because we'll get to that later, which might also explain why he tried to think, Patsy Dawn, because I suspected he was doing it not just because he was under Bottom's pocket, or whatever as it turns out to be, but also because it would serve the pragmatic purpose of getting Don sent off for the chop shop, so that way he's not going to be, the albatross around their necks as it turns.
By the way,
Anyway.
I for some reason in my notes refer to Don as Bobby until the very end. I don't know why.
Who the fuck is Bobby?
I don't know. I can't even tell you. But I've referred to him as Bobby until the very end when I scratched it out and wrote Don. Anyway,
so Norman agrees, and there is a moment in which Ray puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "If you're lying," and Norman's like, "Nah, would this face lie? Would this face lie?" Admittedly, he's already lied before to Emma, but would this face lie? Come on.
Ray's face at that point was like very menacing.
Yeah, and I think there's a genuine idea behind that. Ray was the one who suggested, via hand gesture, that he was going to outright kill Mom and Crone if the opportunity presents itself. So obviously, he's not above the idea, at least, of physical violence. And I think that, for someone from his perspective, it makes sense, that he is the ultimate pragmatist, ultimate rationalist, which is everyone who's going to set me back on my goal to, not be turned into, chowder for demons. They need to get the fuck out of my way, and if they won't get out of my way, I will remove them.
And I wonder about this, though. I wonder if there's a crack or two in that facade.
I think there is, but we'll get to that when we get to talking points.
Okay.
So, conversation ends. I just want to recap 2 small points about this conversation, though, in terms of direction, specifically music. So, firstly, the OST is really on point again, as it always has been, with the really sinister, tense music. So, it cuts in and out, though, back to having the ticking clock that you heard at the very start, when there's downtime between the more serious revelations. Specifically, when you have the first block of music happening in that conversation, which is when Norman has the upper hand, and then when you have the second block, which is when Ray comes up. This, again, is the momentum thing I talked about. So not only is the music itself really great, but it's also blocks really. I should also note, by the way, that one of the things I really like about the ticking clock thing is that it persists throughout much of this episode. You'll hear it later when there's the conversation between the main trio and Don and Gilda, which is in itself a reminder that, they are kind of running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do see the calendar in a couple of shots in this episode as well, and of course, we have the dates of the episode titles. So anyway, the next bit kind of confused me a little bit, because I think this is one of those things where the show is playing a sleight of hand trick, where it's like, we're not going to reveal certain things to the audience quite yet, in a way that I was mildly irritated yet, because obviously Norman has some sort of revelation that only pops into his head.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch his reaction. Like, if rewatch it or whatever, and try to, I guess, based on that, I'd be curious what everybody thinks is happening in his head, because something's happening. You're right to pick up on that.
I mean, it was like not something to pick up. Like, it was very prominent, but it seemed.
Well,
like
I guess what I mean is I guess what I mean to say is, I mean, you're right. It was very center of the screen. It wasn't a hidden thing that you could miss. But I guess I'd be curious to just to know what you guys think he's thinking about. Like, what
what he's thinking. I don't remember exactly the expression, but it was either like relief, like, oh my god, I know how this is gonna get fixed. I know what's gonna happen, or whatever. Or it's, when the time comes, I will fucking kill Ray to save everyone.
Or he's realised he's missing out on double XP in Fortnite, and he's not playing for his Xbox. Oh no!
Yeah, that's it. In his mind, it's like, we've got a traitor. We got a traitor. What's going to happen? Is he going to sell us out? Is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen today? Today, what's today? The 30th. It's double XP weekend. That's exactly the thought process. Yes.
Anyway, I did, however, like this thing as kind of like a wind down from the conversation that they just had, the very tense discussion in which they basically laid out their cards, and they're still
chat.
One other thing,
you're so right. I was going to point this out, Meg, that like, everything that is happening toward that we'll get to with Don is directly related to this is like the consequence, right, of not telling him the full truth because he's not able to adequately weigh the risks because he doesn't have all the information.
Indeed. So I want to note two more quick things here. Like, first off, I like the way this time here afterwards. I'm not fond of the idea of Norman just having and then it could be anything. Like, I'm not so sure if I'm down with the show being that abstract for, playing sleight of hand tricks like that. I appreciate it as just him, showing his humanity and his, relief, or rather his realization of what he's just dealt with now that he's alone. And similarly with Ray, he walks out and he's like, it's like that.
Yeah,
it's like that.
It was a lot. Like this was another scene that was quite like. I'm just like, why don't they just play Dvorak Symphony No. 9 in the background?
That one scene in Metal Gear 4 where Ocelot kind of just runs backwards and
How could I forget? That entire 10-minute cutscene was a cavalcade of nonsense.
I mean, there's a part at the end of this whole silent back and forth with Ray that I really like. And like I said, it's that thing with Norman is like, once you understand, once it is fully known to all of you what he's actually thinking, and kind of he gets to implement it, like, you will go back and I think you'll be like, okay, yes, I understand exactly why he reacted that way. Like, it's so, man, it's fucking good. And but I just question, like, was it the most efficient use of time to do this whole entire well,
the thing is, Ray does go like he titches at the end. No, he tuts.
Yeah, he's looking at that picture of the three of them, the family that grew up together. This is the crack in the facade that I was. Yeah,
maybe he thinks that concept of itself is a burden because obviously he's taken it upon himself to let to get Emma and Emma and Norman in. But that now is causing him problems. His life would probably be a lot simpler if he simply just
but he can't not do it because that whole thing about like Emma said that we're a family who grew up together, so we're gonna stay together, and he's like thinking to himself as he leaves, like, yes, I've done everything I've wanted to do. Like, I fucking got these people. I'm gonna do my plan. And then he sees the picture on the wall and he's like, God damn it. I can't get away from this. We are a fucking family. I can't quit these people, so.
Yeah. Now, one other thing, and this is me really reaching here, so feel free to completely discard this. It's probably cockadilly bollocks, to be honest. But here's the thing, right? How many times have we heard the chess thing brought up in the show thus far? Indeed, a chess piece can be seen at the end of the ending outro, underneath all the flowers.
But now the metaphor has changed, kind of. Now, we haven't heard the chess thing in a while. Now it's cards. Now it's poker.
The aces.
No.
I'm your best carb.
No, I don't think. I'm going to disagree here because here's what I was going to say. Note the hair colour. I know the hair colour is a lot to pay attention to here, but you literally have white and black. And, well, of course, what colour are the sides in chess? I think this is probably the...
I love the blonde side. The blonde side goes second.
That's your alternative chess set.
Yeah, that's the custom chess set that you carved from a tree in your backyard.
Now, again, this is probably a big fucking reach here, but I think that the way I see this is it's going to probably be the start of them trying to outfox each other a little bit. Because Ray's now obviously keyed into the fact that Norman's onto him, but they're holding a lot still to, the chest, so to speak. Like, yes. Ray says, I have various bits of junk and whatnot. What is that junk? He obviously has a lot of information about the tracking devices, but he's still not decided to reveal it all yet. And that leads me to wonder why. It's clearly just a functional thing. Like, telling them theoretically how they would break, even if they don't have the tools, surely that can do no harm, unless it can. So, a lot more going on here than you might think.
Everybody, anyway, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that they all have secrets.
So anyway, speaking of secrets, Ray decides to go knock on Mom's door and say to her, right, I've been a good boy, can I get my St. Quartz for fake granddaughter, please?
Need that gacha. Need to roll.
He does. Now, this scene also confused me a little bit, and I'm thinking this is possibly them abridging material from the manga again. I'm referring specifically to how Ray has been comments rather, that he's been observing Sister Crone. Now, I'm not saying that he hasn't done, but rather, I'm going to be quite frank here. So far, apart from the crime of how she's been designed as a character, which is the fault of the animators and the people adapting the show, and not the actual, character so far, Crone, to my knowledge, has not really fucked up anyway on screen. I mean, okay, yes, ranting and raving at a doll, fine, but no one's actually seen that we know of. We didn't get the scene I suggested of, like, Emma going through the keyhole and going, "Oh, Jesus, fuck, what is this?" So Crone apparently continually fucking up in some way, completely and utterly misfired with me, because I was like, when? When did this happen? How did this happen? Is it something that we have seen that is what they classify as a failure, but to us as the audience, we might not think? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd be inclined to think that. Like it's more of the like what Isabella reprimanded her about. Stay in your lane. Don't get ideas above your station, kind of deal.
Quite possibly. But anyway, Mom reveals that she knows that Ray was actually the one who did point Norman and Emma to the gate that night. She's pieced together the pieces on that, and he mentions that he wants his reward. What is reward?
No. Rather than, she didn't quite say that. She said that he basically failed to prevent them from going. I don't think she knows that he told them to go.
Well, that's a minor thing anyway. But regardless, like, she has got him down as being at least culpable in some way for their knowledge, regardless of how it happened. Ray says, "I'm just doing my bit. Can I have my reward?" And that's at the point the scene cuts off, and we now move into probably, I would argue, another bloody brilliant example of what this show does that I rarely see shows do, which is good use of colour specifically. Like, I can't recall the last time we've done a podcast on Warui Deshou where I've spoken about colour. At least in terms of colour gradients, colour schemes. I might have spoken it once or twice about the craziness of the character's hair or some shit like that. But that's purely an aesthetic thing. Let's talk about it here. So, this is a dream sequence, and this is Norman running through the gate that he's seen previously, which is soaks in water. If you recall, by the way, that one of the noises that was heard while they were in the gate in episode 1 was that of a leaking pipe. So maybe that's an extrapolation from that. That's what his dreams tend to pick up on figments or fragments of like knowledge and experiences that you've had in recent times. So maybe that's that. But regardless, he's running through there, and he turns around after having said, "Let's escape with everyone," to find that, well, everyone's escaped without him, as in they're dead. Oh shit. Fuck.
That was some terrifying shit, by the way.
That was. So let's talk about colour here. Every single person who's on the ground is almost completely the same neutral, very like light indigo or even navy colour. Like very, very faded, with the exception of the flowers that bloom from their chest, the same thing we saw with Connie. And this is most striking when we see Emma. Emma's probably one of Emma's most distinguishing features, if not most distinguishing feature, is her carrot-coloured hair. I mean, I would know that because I'm a man who doesn't have any hair, of course, but anyway, that's beside the point. And that in itself is also completely faded. So not only is she dead, but you get the sense that, like, the life and soul of her has gone. Yeah. Like, when we, present people who have died at funerals and such, they still look like them as we knew in life, but this is definitely not the Emma we know. She's gone. I
mean, it would probably not have been as impactful if they seemed pretty much alive. I think Connie was presented in, like, roughly a similar manner. Obviously, like, dreams are going to be exaggerated. He's going to see them as super dead. Life, like, just black and white.
Super dead.
Oh, no. I'm totally cool with this. I think this is fantastic stuff. Ray, however, is funnily enough, something to interpret from this dream. He's alive. He still has, the thing in his chest. But he's talking to Norman as this happens. And part of me thought to myself that this was, Norman's way of still suspecting him, because of all the people apart from himself who is alive, it's just him. Even though he is, infected / whatever with this flower thing. So read into that what you will. Then of course we get blood dripping, and holy shit, it's something out of Guillermo del Toro's Acid Nightmares.
God. The eyeball in the mouth.
Yep.
So
biological sands.
What?
That makes biological sense.
Yes.
Anyway, this dream is basically confirmation that Norman is not a Yendir. Because he would not have been worried about that shit. He would not have been worried about everyone dying and like disappointing everyone. Like, doing that kind
Sorry,
of shit.
everyone.
If he was a psychopath yandere.
Yeah.
So, curtains out.
No, well, we got to
now.
change our fucking title on the Twitter page.
Never. No, that will never change.
Yeah.
Unless he's only worried about them as a function of like his deal with Emma because he knows it's important to her. But it didn't seem that way. He seemed genuinely
it didn't seem
concerned.
that way because Emma like shows up later after he's already fucking horrified.
Yep, pretty much.
And, like really worried about shit.
Indeed. So, Norman wakes up. One quick thing to frame this next bit is you might recall episode 2 that started with a dream sequence that was Emma's. And this absolutely must be intentional because the following sequence of events up until they then head outside is almost note for note exactly what happened after Emma woke up after her dream sequence, just with some roles switched out. Because you might recall that when Emma woke up, she was looking after the kids, and then she walked downstairs. She was still obviously very shocked at what she had just experienced, and it was Norman who came and patted her on the shoulder. Or rather, Norman said hello and patted on the shoulder. Swap this around now. Emma's the one who's saying hello after he's had a traumatic experience. Ray's the one who's had a It's framed and staged and almost directed very, very similar to that previous one, which I thought was a really nice callback. Fucking hell, this show's immaculate types in there.
Yeah, no, I liked that too. It was, I mean, they can't just be like crying and hugging each other openly. They gotta kind of stuff it down a little bit. But this is like, I'm supporting you. Like, I see you. I'm gonna do what I can in the open. Yeah, no, but way more effective than that. No, this is actually real. This is actually real. Fuck thoughts and prayers.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so, kids all go outside. Something to note here is that main trio, Norman, Emma, and Ray, head into the woods, and Gilda and Don are left under the tree. And this is actually a little bit of a setup / build-up to what happens later, when separated from the main trio, almost subordinated even. That will come into play later when Don decides, fuck what you say, I'm going to do, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. He's going to go, full Rage Against the Machine.
Zach De La Rocha, yeah. He's channeling his inner Tom Morello and what have you.
Mm-hmm. So, they go into the woods, and this is the point where...
God damn it, I haven't thought about Rage Against the Machine in a while. They used to be my favorite band when I was like 20 years old.
They're still pretty good, provided you don't listen to, well, they haven't actually had new material, have they? So I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
Renegades of Funk was the last proper release. And then
still
fucking...
good.
I mean, I hesitate to say... What's the guy's name? Why can I not think? Chris Cornell. I don't want to, bash Chris Cornell because he's recently deceased.
He wasn't part of Rage, though. He was part of Sound...
Yeah, no. He was... so he took the Rage guys, basically. I don't know, and did Audio Slave. Infinitely inferior product to Rage Against the Machine, in my opinion. Just because I'm not a Chris Cornell guy. I don't know where you are.
Oranges.
Yeah, I don't know where you... But I just love Morello. So I've tried to force myself to like the band for a long time. Just because I was like, I want the Tom Morello, guitar solos and shit. And it just wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
What are they saying, guys? Please help me. I don't understand.
Sorry for this
someone
late 90s, early aughts musical diversion.
We're old.
A letter through the mail noting what they're talking about, so I know. Thanks.
And it's on a postcard. So they go into the woods, and this is the point where Emma asks, okay, have you had any more luck on, finding out about this Tracer thing? And Norman just goes, and Ray's just like, bitch, it was me. No, not that, of course. Not that. I will say this, though. I love the reactions that happened here, because everyone just goes,
It's like, wait,
yeah.
what?
She's like
it's not like shock. It's not like, oh my god. It's fucking like, sorry, I don't understand. What?
Does not compute. It does not compute.
Which
Absolutely.
is which is, I think, normally how someone would react to that kind of situation.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what are you fucking saying? Like, huh?
I mean, I was quite. I mean, I was quite surprised at this because I thought, okay, Ray's obviously going to try and divert as much attention. And no, he's just literally driving straight into the fucking storm. Because why would?
Yeah, because he starts going something like, yeah, about that. And like, okay, he made something up. You know, we don't have something. No, he's like, nope, I did it. It was me. It's just a prank, bro. Bro, it's just a prank.
Psych. Got you there. Anyway, nice efficient use, by the way, of a cutaway, which is just, you know, the film equivalent of, okay, shit, the audience already knows to explain to characters off screen because we don't need to repeat it for like 5 fucking minutes. So thank you for that, Promised Neverland, for, you know, getting basic shit like that right.
Thank you
I always
very
appreciate
much.
it. So this is when they have a bit of discussion, you know, about getting Emma's perspective on this. And a couple of things come out from this. First off, Emma makes the assertion, which I think is probably quite accurate, and I have a theory on this, which I'll get to later, that Ray, having been burdened with this knowledge, has probably left him very alone. He's probably felt very lonely. Now, how much he ultimately feels that, or is just otherwise not cognizant of it, is up to each of us to decide, and may potentially be explored later. But anyway, Ray himself actually says, "I'll help you escape with everything," which you might recall is completely contrary to what he said to Norman. Because maybe he himself recognizes, you know, that no matter how much he bashes Emma's head in with, you know, the stick of rationality, she's not going to buy it. She's not going to buy the fact that you can't carry, like, 30 kids who are all, like, under 5 out with.
He's also, like, low-key throwing Norman under the bus here, because Norman is the one who has agreed, like, to really betray her. Like, that's that's the main condition of Ray staying on their side, right, is tricking Emma. So at some point, that confrontation is going to happen, and yikes.
Yep. And this conversation then takes a very dark turn because Emma, I mean, bear in mind that she's no slouch herself. She's pretty sharp. She infers that obviously Ray must have been trying to experiment in some way or another to find out about where the tracking devices are. Yeah. And then she thinks, wait a minute, if he did successfully disable one of these devices, was this kid subsequently then found out, and subsequently were they then shipped off early? And there's no answer for that.
She doesn't want to know.
And quite possibly she instinctually knows that it's true, but she ultimately doesn't want to voice out loud, or is going to process it later.
Yeah.
Emma knows everything. He's like, dude, like, you know, you've been doing this for so long. And it's like, oh my god. And you know, you want us now to all leave together? That's not like you. But okay, she knows everything.
As long as you, Ray, will play along and like help facilitate the situation where we can get everyone ready to go. Yeah, that's all that. That's all that matters.
And promise me, Ray, you will never do something like this again. And Ray says, not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin. And I'm like, bullshit. This guy, it's like I said before, opportunities to push a tiny kid off a cliff so that way they don't have to feed him later. Happening.
So
I'm very interested to see if Emma is kind of trying to manipulate him, or if she's trying to basically be herself and hope that he changes his mind, or that he kind of sees, her way of doing things.
Quite possibly.
I really like that. She kind of it seems. And like you said, a lot of this stuff happens off screen, so maybe she was like really like shocked for a while. But like, I love that she kind of quickly on screen moves past that straight to empathy for Ray. Like that's a thing that Norman didn't really like. That didn't really happen in that scene. He wasn't really concerned very much for Ray. But Emma straight away is like, God, that must have been really painful and lonely. Like I can't imagine kind of what you've had to go through by yourself for all these years. Like, so true to the heart of her character, and I loved that moment a lot.
Emma is, broadly speaking, brilliant in this episode. Anyway,
for being in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, she does pretty well. So anyway,
she's like, the guardian. She shows up for 2 minutes to make sure everyone plays nice. It's like, we're doing this thing. Just be nice, please.
Mm-hmm.
It was Manira.
So,
her scary face was better in the manga. I have to say that whole scene was superior in the manga, but I mean, most of them are, but that's fine. I mean, they put it in here, which is what I was, and they had Ray like rubbing his wrist later. I'm like, that's all I want. That's yeah. The message got across.
So Norman and Ray walking back behind Emma, who's gone a little bit ahead of him, and Ray says, "I want to ask you something." Sorry, Norman asks, "So I ask you something. You said you did escape because you didn't want us to be killed. Was that because I'll find out next episode?" God damn it! Like, yeah, I know. Like, here's the thing, right? I know that this show ostensibly has mystery elements to it, and I'm sure that's part of the core material as well. But part of me, I'm not so sure about this stuff being held back right now, or at least where we don't have more hints at what it might be that possibly Norman's thinking about. And I think this is possibly a function of the inner monologue being removed. So I remember you mentioning that was a factor. Mm-hmm. I'm not making Alabama, no. So maybe that's a part of that. But anyway, it's minor, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so like mystery is good, but like lack of communication, mystery that comes from lack of communication, from just, convenient hiding information from the viewers that they kind of should know that Norman's not really trying to keep it a secret or anything. So it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't get to finish my sentence. That's not like that interesting mystery.
Just to respond to Manira in chat, I'm of the opinion that taking out the inner monologue is a good thing in the case of it being a show. In a manga, it makes more sense. But for the kind of pacing that you need in a continually moving picture, I think having a character simply sit or stand in a single spot and just have them go, "Oh, I was walking down here, and it seemed a bit strange that this person walked," but you get the point. Like, it would probably not good for pacing. I think there are times and places for it, but not at the excessive length otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the considerations of length are real, and that's why you'd probably have to trim a lot of it. I think I'm of the opinion that, I think broadly speaking, I agree with you, but I think it's possible to do anything well. You just have to do it right. Like, they could.
This is very true.
They could do a lot of inner monologues when characters are moving from one location to another or playing tag or something. Like, it's possible, but they want to move things along. So
they could have done a lot of inner monologues with Crone. These people are very visual.
Yeah. To the show's detriment a little bit in cases, but anyway.
Ray's face? God. That did not happen in the manga. I do not recall, evil Ray being a thing at all.
Oh shit, we've got a living bucket in the chat. Shouts to James.
Ah!
What a top lad. Alright.
French champagne.
What? Okay, back on topic. So, Emma says, "Okay, we found something out."
Yep.
And that being her and Gilda. I should mention, by the way, there is a scene actually between this, which is Don and Gilda literally being thrown shade on, funnily enough, by the trio, completely by accident, because they've been left out of this conversation while they're stood under this tree. Bad joke, and Don is like, why are they talking about, we need to go save Connor, we can't be around here. Put that in the back of your mind for a little bit later.
This is when Gilda should go no, Don, no.
Well. Put that also in the back of your mind as well for when we discuss Don and Gilda later.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's the thing, right? They go back in the house, and Emma reveals that she and Gilda have basically mapped out the floor on which Mom's washroom and bedroom. Office is. Is it her office or is it a bedroom? It doesn't matter. Rooms. Two rooms that she uses. Bedroom. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they've determined that there's a crevice between the two.
It is an office. Both.
Yeah. Which Emma believes is a secret room. Now, I'm going to get to this a little later because I want to talk about Emma in specific and how this show is actually surprisingly strong at show don't tell. But I'll get to that later. But they do indeed determine that's the case. Ray drops the factoid here that we, as the audience, know is true, even though he himself doesn't have any corroborating evidence of it. That it's a regularly scheduled checkup system. I ring in from home, say, hey, I'm doing fine. Can I get, double pepperoni, side of strippers, bit of cookie dough.
Who are you calling? Like, well, I thought it started, it was like, okay, you're calling your mother, and then it turned to pizza, and then it turned to the sex worker order form. I don't know.
Chicken strippers. Oh. You and your filthy mind. You absolute charlatan.
I'm just trying to channel you, the inner you, is all.
Excuse me. Are you saying I'm a whore? Are you saying I'm a man, with vices? Shall we?
Yes. Say? And that you're sex positive.
You're entirely accurate. Carry on. All right. Anyway, so they've determined this, and Don starts protesting at this, saying, "Well, we've got to go investigate this room." And obviously, we, the audience, never mind the characters there, can immediately say this is probably one of the stupidest ideas in the history of ideas ever. Let's start playing William Tell Overture and just go charging in like it's fucking nothing. Great idea, Don. I mean, Ray actually lists out a number of very good reasons why they won't want to do that, such as the fact that they have the tracking devices they previously discussed. Also, there might be other security systems in there. Also, they could open it and fucking Slender Man might come out. There's a variety of problems with this.
But if we brought this up earlier, and so did chat, if you think Connie is still alive, which Don is laboring under that impression, then that consideration probably rightly should outweigh a lot of those other logistical considerations.
Yeah.
And
I would have expected Emma to kind of act in a similar way if she thought Connie was alive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Come on, Gilda.
Yep.
observe and report. You gotta be like, hey, Emma's not pushing for this. So I don't know, maybe this is just me, audience member who knows a lot talking, but yeah.
But this is the thing,
the downside of the noble lie right here. The downside.
This scene, actually, I've said before a lot of times about the idea of what the audience knows versus what the characters know. And this actually is a really good time for it, and I'll tell you why. Because, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when we did see Mom go into a secret room previously to do her broadcast via a, shock jock ham radio setup, that was an attic room, because she pulled down a set of stairs. Am I right in saying that? I was getting split before. I'm sure she pulled down stairs.
I vaguely think you're right.
You're talking about Isabella?
Yeah, Isabella. Yeah, the radio apparatus she used was in the attic, or a set of stairs.
Oh,
that she pulled down in the corner.
Yeah, there's stairs that are used to get where she needs to go. That is accurate.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right?
The 1980s
you have to
stereo.
Phrase it. You have to phrase it as roundabout as possible.
Yes. I don't want to give anything away accidentally.
There is walking involved. Maybe
She's in a room with a piece of equipment.
It's where her secret arcade is, so she can get top scores on Donkey Kong, Marble Madness. Anyway. Yeah. The arcade I go to a lot still has that.
That's
anyway.
I see Mom as more of a rampage person.
Yeah. She plays Lizzie, of course.
Fucking giant gorilla smashing the city.
Nah, Lizzie plays Lizzie.
It's haha, I remember this from my childhood.
Indeed.
She gave Ray, one of the things she gave Ray was the Rampage movie on DVD starring The Rock.
Oh, that's not a reward. That's a punishment.
What is this, Mom? You'll like it. You'll like it. Trust me.
Did you let them go to the gate? Oh, I have a surprise for you.
I have to force you to watch this now with me.
Yes, he's locked in the room.
Yep,
with a projector.
No wonder
Where did Ray go? Oh, he's busy.
What are movies?
So, the point I'm getting to here is that I noticed, or I vaguely recalled, and it seems I'm right, that the radio equipment's in the attic, but this is not the attic setup. Of course, this is as we will find out in a bit, behind a bookcase. Classic secret bookcase shenanigans. So I'm immediately thinking, okay, not the radio. What is this? And that piqued my interest. So yeah, I have made varying complaints and criticisms here and there of what the audience knows versus what the characters know. But I think this is a really good time to do it because it's strictly focused around mystery elements and how we, as better informed individuals, can use this as a part of intrigue and a part of the mystery. It's not a question of, characters' experiences being facilitated. We know that something's there that's not the radio, and that helps build up the tension a little bit. What could it be? Could it be, you know, Mom's secret supply of human flesh that she eats for herself?
Yes.
Could it be that? Could it be her secret sex venture dungeon? We don't fucking know. We don't know. But we know that it's not the thing we've seen previously, and that builds that up. So, Ray says to Don, okay...
DDR tournament location. It's where all the demons come secretly to have their... You know, to get their dance on.
Wouldn't surprise me. So... Ray says to Don, go prepare dinner so that way Mom doesn't get suspicious after this conversation is over. Don decides, fuck you. You can't, you know, I won't do what you tell me.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. And he decides to go straight to the room with Gilda. Gilda, by the way, just kind of gets caught in his, you know, tailwind, so to speak, and gets dragged along. Which I'll get to in a bit, because I want to talk about those two specifically and the flaws that they have as characters. They're not present in Emma, Norman, and Ray, and why, while we might, of course, ethically and academically disagree with Ray, he certainly is right to have his concerns, at the very least about Don, and also argue a little bit about Gilda. Anyway, so they go there, go inside. Don just starts banging on the bookcase, presumably because it's, you know, got, you know, that trashy,
where's the button?
You know, yeah, it's got that trashy young adult literature he doesn't care about. It's like, God, it's just full of copies of Maze Runner. I'm not reading it.
I hate the Hunger Games. I hate it.
Ironically, if you go by Monogatari logic, you know, specifically what was it, back in Monogatari, where, you know, he reads manga to learn about his superpowers, maybe having young adult adventure novels, you know, would actually be a good thing to have as preparation for the trials they go through.
Yes, I was going to say, this is, if they had access to that, they might, like, more of them might unwittingly think the thought, like, what if this is all a charade? Like, I'm in a simulation.
Emma, I think you'd be great at archery.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so after Don, like, you know, impotently, you know, starts bashing around the bookcase, Gilda figures it out and manages to pull it aside. She spots there's this, like, a slot in which she can fall back into. But, what you know, the door into the secret room is locked. And then, the door that they came in from starts to open very slowly. Cut to, you know, shocked faces from them. Credits roll, end of episode. And it's probably the grimaces and shit like that, I don't know.
Fucking Dom and Gilda, literally 10 seconds after, hey, let's not go there. It's like, fuck! I need it now.
What's
gonna happen?
Gilda showing she's, you know, the brains of the operation. You know, found the room.
Absolutely. Don, like, I like Don less and less. Honestly, like, I never liked him, but man.
I mean, he is. We know he's doing annoying, counterproductive things, but I can't fault him for, like. I mean, he really wants to save Connie. Like, I feel for him. I mean, he doesn't know she's dead. I mean, God.
Yeah, maybe it's fucking Mom's room where she has pictures of all the children with fucking just red X's on the Polaroids. Fed, you know. She has, like, a list. One of the, you know, she has a blackboard where she pins the things, and, like, at the top, she writes "fed to he/him," fed to lower class citizens.
Okay, no, it's not that. It's a list of food items. So panini, stir fry,
child,
hamburger. Oh no, that's what they were turned into.
Right.
Yeah, that's grim. Sorry. All right. Okay.
Oh yeah, you do it.
Okay, so that's the episode. I apologize if I glossed over certain elements of the particularly verbose, you know, lengthy conversation between Ray and Norm at the start. There's a lot packed in there, so apologies if I abridged that to too much of an extent. But anyway, talking points. I actually have, believe it or not, I have 3 this episode. Ooh. But I'm happy to hold off for a moment and if you guys have any that you want to throw in.
Talking points. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen?
Suspense.
Suspense. Like,
next time on the Promised Neverland.
It feels too cheap. Because, you know, this is a pretty big cliffhanger. Like, hey, if Mom walks in, oh my gosh, you're gonna die. But it's not gonna be Mom. and it's not going to be fucking Ray. It's not going to be Emma and be like, "Hey guys, come for dinner."
What are you doing in here,
What
you
are you
sillies? I told you to stay out of there. Come on.
It's going to be.
Close the secret door and get in here and have some burgers. Oh man, yeah.
It's gonna be the most terrifying character of all, Onion Kid.
Oh my god, Onion Kid.
That's not Phil, is it?
They can't.
Phil Onion
They
Kid? No.
can't do that kind of cop out. Like everyone's been saying, "Oh my god, you can't read the manga. It's had so many fucking cliffhangers. I want to die."
Well, let me
if they cheapen the cliffhangers, they kind of lose a lot of what they're going to be, or like they kind of lose a lot of kind of tension from what they're going to be doing.
In the manga,
it's going to be Crone.
I never felt in the manga like that they were just doing it to fuck with me and they walked it back. It was always like the cliffhangers always led to a substantive thing.
Yeah, so it's not going to be Emma. It's going to be Crone. Crone is going to be like, "What do you know?" Dawn, like an idiot, it's going to be like, "We're going to save Connie."
Well, remember
and
when
Crone unlocks the door and shows them the Polaroids?
Well, Crone did say, like, "I'm willing to help you, Gilda. You know, I'm on your side, Emma. You know, if you saw the harvest that day." So, I mean,
I also predict
she's willing to like work with him if it means fucking over Isabella.
Well, let me him is going to be the big dude that summoned the monsters. Him is going to be President Obama. Or something like that. We have to get these children to Mr. Obama.
Wondered what you've been doing for the last year or so.
Is your fanfiction memory starting to bleed over a little bit here?
Sorry. I got started, and now a lot of shit's coming to my grave.
Oh dear. The thing is, like, Vorg, I actually agree with you. Like, I'm not so fond of cliffhangers in this sense, like, because I like that you, as you rightly said, you know, like I felt at the start of this episode. Oh well, it wasn't something that we, the audience, knew what Norman's actual setup was. It's like, I actually feel that scene would have been better if Norman had done what he had originally said, which was that he just, you know, put the ropes where he originally told us in episode 4, and he had to guess or risk or, you know, bet on Ray being the traitor, as opposed to going for a more cast iron solution. Granted, that doesn't make him as smart as he otherwise is presented, but I am of the opinion that would make the drama much more impactful because he's having to genuinely take a risk.
Yeah, so like I at the beginning when I was watching that episode and saw the ending, I was basically like, yeah, he's going to basically like be like, yeah, you're the traitor. It's like Ray's gonna be like, what? And kind of Norman's gonna kind of start walking back on it because he's basically like taking a risk, trying to gauge the reaction, and then Norman's like, you found out, oh fuck, or something like that. But still, like, that kind of cliffhanger did lead to something substantial. It did set up a plot, and it's more like, okay, would you have rather the episode ended like before they even said anything, or like
they just looked at the door and then
No, I'm speaking more of the follow through here. But the reason I bring this up is because The Promised Neverland was a manga. I don't know what the release schedule for the manga was.
Weekly.
But here's the thing. Weekly. There we go. Okay. So, how many shows have we collectively watched that were based on manga adaptation? The one that immediately springs to mind that's going on right now is JoJo's Part 5. And obviously, of course, all the previous JoJo.
That's 1-to-1 with the chapters. Like, pretty much 1-to-1.
Yeah. So,
in most cases.
To me, I think that, you know, because manga as a format is predicated on week-by-week sales in the same way comic books are. That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong. And obviously,
it just depends.
You know,
some of it is, and some of it the release windows vary depending on the magazine that they're published in.
So here's the thing, right? I understand as a manga writer that you might want to use cliffhangers, not necessarily because they might be inherently good for the story, but moreover to, you know, get people excited for the subsequent release, be that the following week, the following month, the following fortnight, however long it may be, or the following quarter decade if you happen to be a Kenshiro Mura fan, but that's not even all that.
Right. A Berserk
anyway,
reader.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there. So I understand their function as a method of trying to preemptively or proactively build up sales of the next chapter. That's fine. And that doesn't mean they're not inherently bad either in terms of the story. But when you have it converted into a show here, in which I'm obviously paying a flat subscription rate to watch this, or it might very well be airing on public TV in Japan, however it pans out, it may, in my opinion, be best to drop cliffhangers like that, or possibly develop them in a different way.
Killing me. I can't concentrate on what Shadon is saying.
I was going somewhere there. Okay, so back on track. My point basically is that, like with JoJo's, that stops, at the most tense moment of a stand battle, as you would expect. Mm-hmm. Even one of my favorite anime of all time, Land of the Lustrous, has done this, because holy shit, I've read up to the end of Volume 7, and that cliffhanger is a complete ballbuster. I've had it happen with fucking Steins Gate, although that merely was not a manga, but I did only get to watch up until the end of episode 12, and I had to wait 6 months, because I hate myself, and it was a fucking struggle to, wait for that cliffhanger to be resolved. So cliffhangers, I'm not inherently averse against, but I do think that if it is just simply for shock value or scare value, as opposed to character drama, as it was with Ray and Norman, those are the moments where I'm far less interested in them conceptually. They feel very cheap to me.
And
so
again,
that's why
the show hasn't quite yet done the cheap cliffhangers at all. All of them kind of led into something. All of them either kind of gave insight into what characters are thinking, or the kind of struggles the characters are going to have to deal with and resolve in the next episodes, or they set up something that's gonna fuck things up. And I went into that kind of what's gonna happen thing specifically because the show has kind of gave me these expectations.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So
right,
logically, it has to be Crone because they've been consistently fine.
Whoever it is going to come through the door and just be like, "When did this door become some garbage CG? This door looks terrible all of a sudden."
Oh, it's going to look like opening a door in Resident Evil 1.
Oh, Jesus.
The camera opening the door and then...
It just shows the door and nothing else. It's all black.
And the camera is bobbing up and down. Footstep sounds are playing.
I'm just waiting for Crone's I'm just waiting for Crone's 2D animation to clip through it.
Yep. Elbow.
In the original Half-Life or some shit where you can see arms popping through.
Well,
do you have anything else you want to add on that point, Varg?
No.
Okay. You have a talking point.
Yeah, one or two things have been popping into my mind. Well, this one is the fastest one to mention, and that's whenever there's so many things about the conversation scene between Ray and Norman that I feel like are worth pointing out. One being that Ray made all those weird, horrible faces and moved from one end of the bed to the other, all while having his legs crossed. I think that's important to point out. His legs are crossed the whole time. It's hard to do a bunch of shit and keep your legs crossed, by the way. I don't know if you ever tried that, but you should try
Maybe
that sometime.
Maybe he does yoga.
Apparently so. Yes, Mom, I want a yoga mat. That was one of his asks. And now I need, I don't know, Jillian Michaels' 4-week yoga plan on DVD, please. And then the thing I really liked that I thought was actually really well animated was there was a cut when Norman, after he told Ray that he wasn't lying, that he's telling the truth, he just looks so tired, and he just kind of I'm not lying, and gets up from he was sitting on the bedside table, and that animation I thought was pretty awesome. Suddenly, in an episode with not a lot of animation, he just was full body, fluid, shifting of the weight and the hair, and I was wow, this is really good. Suddenly,
yeah. it's all too easy, I think, like in any medium or any visual medium, to simply have visual novel style things where character A, character B, shot, reverse shot, you've seen it all before, that kind of thing. But obviously put a lot of thought into gestures, maybe perhaps a bit too much, funnily enough, with the facial expressions.
Right.
But certainly I prefer that there is a lot of motion. Because, I mean, you can see it right now, even though obviously we're not in the same room, that I am very heavily gesticulating as I'm talking. And I have been doing it all the time. It's a big part of how we communicate, so it's good that they captured that in their interactions.
For sure. The final point I had is also probably we can hit really quickly, and that's that conversation to me, and I know we've been talking about this off and on throughout, but it was more evidence that I know we're going to say Norman is not a Yandir. I know we're off the Yandir island here. We pulled back from full Yandir, but I thought it was interesting that whenever he's pushed by Ray or whoever on this, like, look, man, we just need to escape, just us, just the big kids, the 11-year-olds, and we can do it. We don't need to be moving this dead weight around. Norman always seems to fall back to, like, this is what Emma wants to do, and I believe in Emma. He never is like, this is the right thing to do, or in fact, a lot of times he says, like, I actually agree with you, Ray, but guess what? Emma wants to do something different, and she's convinced me, like, I want to believe in her. I want to believe in this idea of family, in this idea of all of us looking out for each other and all of us going together. So, well, yeah, Norman, not full Yandir, but, like, also he's not, like, this person who's, like, bursting with a lot of empathy. I don't know if I'm going to, like, go put myself out there and be like, Norman is a sociopath. Like, but, I mean, other people have said that in chat, and, like, I mean, I see where they're coming from. Have you seen
the other guy? Have you seen the other guy?
No, right.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. No, but I sort of see, like, I guess in a way what they mean, in that, like, if he wasn't so kind of invested emotionally in Emma and making her happy and making sure that she's cared for and protected, like, would he be exactly the same as Ray? Like, I don't know. Like, probably. So he's like changing. He's like changing for her, or he's making an effort to, like, he's like putting all of his hope in Emma, and yeah, it just, I think, is revealing about, like, kind of who he is, I guess. He's not like, it's not one of those things where he's like, I believe in this now. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, if we have an older brother or a friend or whatever, like, you argue a position with them, they convince you, you know, you come over to their side and you're like, yeah, like, I'm one of you now, like, I advocate this. Like, he's never been that way. He's still very much like, I hear what you're saying, Ray, like, I'm with you, like, that makes the most sense to me, but I just still can't do it because it's not what Emma believes.
Indeed, one might have to ask, maybe, you know, Norman needs to decide what he personally believes as the story goes on.
This is the one time, please note this, 12th of February. Whatever time it is right now.
2018, the year of our Lord.
2018, the year of our Lord, Mr. Obama. I agree with Trickster721. I don't think Norman is capable, but he lacks any agency. He has no idea what he wants, no ideal or goal of his own to work towards. I'm directly quoting. Yes, he's clinging on to Emma's idea. He's clinging on to, like, her optimism and to what she wants to have and what she sees for everyone.
Yeah. Norman, of the three, I would argue, is certainly, in terms of raw intellect, strongest, but he is literally pretty much that. And the other two have the elements that will be the push and pull, the momentum again. Ray's pragmatism, again, not unfounded or cruel pragmatism, just honestly the truth. It is true that they would be a burden, versus Emma's, you know, moral and ethical standpoint that, you know, we can't leave them here to die. no, a good soldier never leaves a man behind, that kind of thing. Which I'm also totally on board. It's a difficult thing. It's a dilemma.
Yeah, I don't.
Both of them have viewpoints that are very valid.
I'm not sure he lacks agency. Like, I wouldn't go that far. I think I think he just has. Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
I would entirely agree with you, and I'll tell you why, because we've literally seen the moment in which he took it upon himself to actually, honey trap Ray with the fucking rope thing. So there's your evidence that he has agency.
Yes, definitely, definitely. But I'm saying, like, in terms of his own motivations, in terms of his own, like, beliefs and stuff, he kind of clings to what Emma... I wouldn't say he doesn't have agency. He basically took it upon himself. I was just quoting, but yeah, like, he basically took it upon himself to kind of come up with the entire escape plan. He kind of took the initiative on a whole lot of stuff, and Emma is like the kind of moral guidance, more like.
Yeah, like I sort of see him as like he just has this dilemma. Like he's got two kind of opposing forces. Like he wants different things, and he's having a hard time deciding. Or no, he's not actually having a hard time. I think he's made his choice. Like, I think, like, Sophie says, like, I'm not sure if Norman is actually in love with Emma. And, like, being that they're 11, it's hard to, like, suss all that out. But, like, I do know he cares for her very deeply. And, like, that's the most important thing to him is, like, making sure she's happy. And you can have that, I think you can have that bond with someone, whether or not it's romantic love when you're 11 years old. So, like, I think that's his kind of guiding light, and he's having to shove down his instincts that are more in line with what Ray's are. But I think he kind of he's already made his decision of, like, the thing that he wants to do. And I think that's okay. Like, I don't think that makes him a lesser character because he is trying to make someone else happy. Like, it's a decision he's made to make her happy. Like, that's his own autonomous thing he's decided is the most important thing to him is Emma.
Yeah. Indeed. Right, so I've got 3 talking points. Let's get started.
Bring it.
So I'm going to start with Emma here, and I want to talk about the concept of show and don't tell. I'm not going to tell you all what show don't tell is because, funnily enough, I would actually violate it. But I'm assuming that you all know as a literary concept what that is. Now, here's the thing, right? You might recall, if you watched our Banana Fish streams, I actually got kind of agitated at various points at 2 specific things kept happening with Ash. One of which was we kept getting told that he was like an animal. And I'm like, thank you very much for pointing out the obvious. I don't need to be told that 20 fucking times. That he's like a tiger or a panther or some other big cat.
Snow leopard.
Like, that's entirely clear by his actions and his reactions to the events around him. Please stop that. It's really unnatural.
Are you slandering Banana Fish right now, by the way?
I slandered it back then. You can go check the stuff he streams, yo.
How dare
evidence
you?
Is there.
How dare
evidence
you?
Is there. But the second thing I wasn't quite happy with was the fact that they kept banging on about telling us how he's smart. And the thing is, this was long after that had been proven as a point by all the various things he did, how he's outfoxed the villains at various occasions. So, here's the thing, right? You can violate show don't tell on certain occasions, particularly if it's to mislead characters, but not the audience. And I will say this, right? You might think this is not true, but when we first saw in the first episode that our 3 main characters doing that test and being told that they were resultantly very smart, that was pure tell. That was not show, because we, as the audience, have no fucking clue what that test involves. We have no idea about the mechanics of it. It could literally be, scanning tins of Campbell's soup barcodes very fast, like they're working in a fucking supermarket. Great. So, here's the thing, right? We've had demonstrating moments for Norman and Ray, literally at the start of this episode and prior, of their intellects. But Emma comes out and proves her own sharps here. Now, I'm not saying that she wasn't sharp before. Obviously, she was. But what I really appreciate this is not only is it when she's, and Gilda decipher the origin of the secret room, not only do we hear their reasoning on it, we get a diagram of it, we get a very practical and reasonable explanation that makes logical sense. You could use that theory to figure out if there was a secret room, or even just a wall or something in your own home if you felt so inclined. I'm not saying, obviously, you'll find, a secret sex dungeon or some shit in there.
I know what I'm doing when I get back home tonight.
Apologies for those of you who do have secret sex dungeons, and in case I just happen to rat out how to find them or, check them in your friends' houses.
Yeah, I've got a
I mean, yeah, the show could have been like, well, a boomerang did it.
I know, yeah, that's Sherlock. You know exactly what I was referencing there. That's the point I was getting to, which is that I really appreciate the time it's taking here to remind us not only is Emma, like, Emma's primary character trait is her heart. She is the actual mother of the ranch. The mom up there, no, not even remotely. She is the true mother, if not, biologically, but certainly in spirit and the way she treats the kids and adores them for who they are. But that does not mean that she's also not one of the top scorers, and here we get actual evidence of it presented to us in a way that is very clearly explained to the audience. It makes sense, it engages us, and on top of that, it makes us like the character more. Mm-hmm. So I really, really, really like that. I really appreciate the time it took. It's not that these kids are smart simply because we're told it, because of this nonsense, We are actually shown it.
Absolutely. Like, Emma has been, when I mentioned, like, Norman basically kind of took the initiative to figure out all the shit and figure out the escape plan and everything. It's like, yeah, it's basically been Norman doing a lot of shit, and Emma is basically still the moral guidance, like, we're doing good, let's do the nice. It's
also the will to push through the shit.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see Emma kind of take a more sort of brainy role, or kind of have some more like representation in the show, other than just she's the nice person and she can run fast.
Absolutely, that's my point.
We want more Emma. Like,
dude,
it's not been enough Emma.
She's so good. She's the best.
Yeah.
Like, that's
and I really enjoy how they've shown, like, kind of their episode upon episode, they're kind of expanding on everyone's personalities. They're kind of showing how they deal with, stress, or they're kind of showing how they deal with other people, motivations and everything. So I'm pretty happy to see that finally also extend to Emma.
Even another, I guess, like, here's an advantage the manga has, right? And bringing all these character traits home is that even the panels that are like, this is chapter 1 or whatever, this is chapter 4, like, they're these images that don't happen in the story, but a lot of times they're like, Emma, like, powering through and, like, reaching her hand down into a pit, and, like, that is her fucking character in a picture. Like, that determination painted on your face, that, like, reaching down to grab the last person, like, that's fucking Emma. But, like, and you get that in one picture, and then you're back to the story. And so, like, almost subconsciously, you're getting these, like, layers upon layers of, like, repetition about, like, different aspects of the characters that I guess you just kind of don't get in the anime. I mean, you get other things from the anime that you don't get in the manga, but I love those.
So wait, you're telling me the manga has basically, like, the kaiji visual metaphors?
It can do, yeah, in between the chapters, yeah. The chapter introductory pages. I love those.
I'm just gonna throw out there, like, in terms of, like, female protagonists in anime, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think generally speaking that women get the shaft as far as female characters go in, like, anime in general. How many shows can I point to that I've watched personally where, oh fuck. Anyway, let's not get into that territory.
Revisit the Zyvox reviews for that.
Please no, for a variety of reasons. But anyway,
and also watch Kaiju.
Yeah,
Kaiju's really good.
You have the show Don't Tell. Kaiju's like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
I'll show you my beer.
You want internal monologue? We'll fucking step it up.
Indeed. So, I have to say, like, it's
whole
actually
storylines in people's heads. Sorry, go ahead.
I have to say, like, it's really embarrassing.
So many tangents in Kaiji. Oh my god, where have I seen that before?
So, I have to say,
like, the action is interrupted, like, all the time.
Guys,
your face is good right now. Please continue.
Please go on.
Thank you. So, as I was trying to say, like, I think that it's actually kind of embarrassing that Emma is such an effective and interesting and likable female protagonist, and she's not even fucking old enough to rent, even the most tame DVDs from the local Blockbuster, assuming that's still a thing.
Right.
But anyway, you get my point. All right, so talking point numero 2.
Okay.
Numero 2. Let's talk about Don and Gilda. Now, I think that, the show has actually done a nice job, without spelling it out so far, of showing their weaknesses. Now, okay, yes, Don is obviously very, I want to find Connie, where's Connie, blah, 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 blah. But Don's other weakness here is that it would be a strength otherwise, but his weakness is that he actually breaks away from, the instructions given by the group at the end of the episode, which is, don't go to the secret room. It's super fucking dangerous for a variety of very obvious and very, understandable reasons. He's going off half-cocked. But there's a contrast here, because Gilda goes with him. Now, this might sound a little odd given the previous scene in another episode, but bear with me, I'm going to explain this in full.
Okay.
I think Gilda's fault is that she's too easily swayed to follow in the directions of others. Now, hold your horses here, because you might be saying, what about the time she was with Crone? And I would say, good point, but the thing is that was her fighting back against someone and not following the footsteps of someone she's otherwise friends with.
Yeah, everybody has
she
like...
wasn't friends with Crone. She doesn't like Crone. There's no reason
that's what I mean though. Like that's why I'm saying
so it doesn't count there.
It's pressure, not peer pressure.
But I was prefacing that because I thought people might bring it. So anyway, okay.
No, we're saying you're right. You're totally on point here.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Okay, so I'm liking how this is starting to build up, because not only do we have now the other lie coming along of you've got to deceive Emma on this, but we also get to see ways in which Don and Gilda will become liabilities in their own right, without actually having the characters actively again tell us about it. We can infer this from the behaviours we see right here. Yes, it is incredibly blindingly obvious that they made a complete goof, going to that room. But in the long term, their character attributes are going to become a factor. Like, how many times will Gilda have an idea which, she might think, this is genuinely a bad idea, but I'm not going to speak up because I'm afraid of stepping out of line. There's your thought. Or how many times is Don going to argue the point against, the group when they have a very good reason to take a course of action and not the one that he's suggesting because he's driven either by his emotions or something else? So not only is this, good in episode moment of holy shit, they really fucked up, but it's again setting the stage for what's going to happen with the characters and their interactions later, without actually explicitly spelling it out. I mean, we had that moment where there was this discussion, this character, Crone, funnily enough, says, this is your weakness, etc., etc. I didn't mind that so much, by the way, because that was her trying to taunt Emma, by the way, and not us, not being spelled out to the audience. So, short point, but I liked it. And finally, let's talk about the Death Arcana himself, fucking Ray. Let's get into him.
Arcana. What was his name in Persona 3? Ryuji? Ryoji. God, I always mix that up. Yeah.
I don't remember what the kid was called, but fuck you, who cares? Anyway, so
Death Chan.
Meggy Moon, shouts to you in chat, Meggy Moon, said this before, and this was actually something I was going to bring up, but I've got to credit them first by pointing out in chat because they got to it before I said it. Let's talk about Ray and how he acts. Now, in the show thus far, we've seen Ray often, sitting under a tree by himself reading. He rarely, if ever, deigns to interact with us. And this revelation that we've had about his history has now retroactively explained all that in a way that I found incredibly satisfying. Because as Meggy Moon rightly pointed out, and just to expand on that point a little, if you, as a young kid, a smart young kid, know that the truth of this environment where these kids could potentially be shipped off at any time, why bother socializing with them? Why bother getting attached to them? You know they're going to be turned into turkey burgers later. Why the fuck would you bother? And this also then explains why he's actually possibly formed a little bit of an attachment, even if he might not want it, with Emma and Norman. Because he knows how the mechanism works. High scores, you save them for later. They're not, the junk food, that gets turned into, Big Macs. They're the good stuff, the prime, the extra special range from Tesco if you happen to be British. So obviously he might feel that he can let down his defenses a little bit because he knows that they'll be around for a bit longer. And indeed, maybe that also is why he's now done this, because he knows their time is coming. But on top of that, consider also the environment they're in. When we first saw them and they were doing the test, it was announced publicly that the three of them were the smartest kids. So obviously, even if he doesn't want to, he's still being grouped with them by Mom as a teacher role. So I really, really like how, again, without spelling out explicitly, this is all inferable from it, that you can understand Ray's behavior and his pragmatism as the result of his, early burden of knowledge that he's found out, like, oh, we're all going to be turned into fucking hamburgers. So why, first off, I'm number one, I'm not getting turned into hamburgers. Two, can't, rely on anyone else, or otherwise get attached to them, because they are going to go. So, again, another real deft point in the writing here, which is, we're not going to spell out explicitly to you, but we will allow you to infer in your own time, and allow it to, fully, or at least adequately explain at this point his psychology and his thinking. But this is the thing, as you've said, there are cracks forming here. Indeed, Norman's pointed out as well. Why would you do this?
Yep.
Because if you want to be the ultra-pragmatist here, Ray should have never done this in the first place.
No.
And told them regardless. If his survival is so paramount at the expense of all others, that is a mistake. Undoubtedly. And indeed, he has been called out for said mistake as well. So, I'm going to be very curious to see, much like, again, the pendulum swinging back and forth, how much over time Ray might actually develop into, like, if not a fully, but a regular, normal kid who can associate and engage with others. I mean, obviously Norman's got that thing for Emma we mentioned here. And I'm not saying that Ray may necessarily feel the same way, but will he start forming connections? Will he start, empathizing with people, even just a tiny little? Will his behavior that should otherwise imply pragmatism be dropped for just a tiny little window?
Can you escape having, like, bonds with your family members if you are being raised in a loving home? Whether you know what I mean? Like, can you escape those tentacles?
Even on a pretense.
Even if you're like, fuck it, no, fuck it. But it's like year upon year of, like, morning Ray, hug, delicious oatmeal, together time, singing songs.
Yeah, and really the time spent together is a lot of it here, probably, because they're the only children that are this age. These are probably the only familiar faces he has had in a very long time. Like, the only ones that haven't been cycled out, the only ones that have been constantly in his life.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense why it would be that way.
You made me think of something when you were talking. This may not be related at all, but and you might have mentioned it and I just missed it. At the beginning when Norman and Ray are talking, and Norman is sort of running down why he suspected Ray, like why he even looked into it. Like, so when you're talking about Ash in Banana Fish, right, we talk about how he's so incredibly smart and great at reading people, right? He's like, I perceive these, like, things about you, the person, or, like, these flaws in your character, and so that's sort of not what's going on, I don't think, with Norman. Like, Norman isn't, like, a super genius and, like, I can see through Ray's plan based on, like, these imperceptible things that no one else would know. Like, it's almost like he started to investigate Ray as a product of these math tests that they're making.
Purely academic.
He was
purely
like,
academic.
Yeah, who will cause us the most harm and who would, like, help benefit the enemy the most if they were to flip, right? And so Ray, and so he said he's like, well, I need to have a contingency for Ray, I guess. And so he did it, and then Ray, like, walked right into it. Like, I thought that was brilliant. Like, just thinking about that, like, it's I guess, I don't know, just a way to, like, make the kids smart without making them seem like annoying Sherlock Holmes characters. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, so I really, really like how not only is this revelation good for just the pure tension of it, and, the future self and potential conflict between Ray and Norman, plus them laying out the cards for each other, what Ray knows. It's also good for helping to retroactively explain his character. Because Ray, otherwise being, the antisocial loner who's obtuse and introverted, on its own, I think if it had not been given adequate explanation, or even just a token bit of explanation, bear in mind this is a fairly clean and sterile environment which they're all raised in. It's not like he came from a different household. That would have probably grated on me after a while, I will confess. But the reason I'm bringing all this up now is because I want to lead to my final thing here, which is to say that I'm going to be quite honest with everyone here. I was really enjoying Promised Neverland, but I was enjoying it on a technical level. I was enjoying it as a work of execution, both in terms of how its writing was executed and its direction, its sound, etc. But like I said at the very start, like I said when comparing with Yasmin Knight, I was struggling a little bit to find an emotional connection. Now, don't mistake me here. The threat they face is very real and it's very genuine and it's pants-shittingly terrifying. I get that. But for me, what the Promised Neverland needs to deliver on to be truly brilliant is to have interpersonal group drama. Dilemmas, moral decisions, ethical decisions, questions of like, right, forks in the road, we only have X amount of food, we have Y amount of people, can we feed everyone, that kind of stuff, who gets what, that kind of thing. This episode was the first episode that started to deliver on that. And I think that's a fair thing for me to say because I'm not expecting episode 1 to do that. Not every show can be Yasmin Knight. Not everyone can do that. That's a lot to ask.
It is a lot to ask.
And it is also,
Yatterman, what?
I mean, who knows? Never seen it. Fuck it. But this obviously is, a long-running show. A long-running piece of fiction that's going to be going in terms of the anime at least after the first season concludes. Don't know if we'll even see a season 2. I mean, my prediction, true or false, will be that the first season will be the breakout, and then this following season will be the aftermath thereof. So it's understandable it's going to be a bit of a slow burner at the start, but I'm very, very happy to see it start to deliver on this and also set the stage for future events, such as, the second deception. We have the first deception of Connie being alive. We have the second deception of Emma, now not being lied to, about taking all the kids out. We have Don and Gilda being the wild cards and the weak spots now added into this board group, who in themselves are also not truly being genuinely involved, like when we have the separate meeting in the woods. There's a lot of interpersonal drama and potential for that. There's a powder keg being stacked up here at long last. And a little bit of that went off this time with Ray and Norman, while still saying up more of that later, of which I was really, really appreciative. So, colour me fully engaged with this now.
Awesome.
I'm really up. So, that concludes, I believe.
Shadon confirmed to have a heart of bricks. Because I cared about the children in about 2 minutes in.
Well, you misunderstand. I did care about them, but I'm saying I'm saying that there's levels of care. I'm not saying I
thought the show was wonderful and I thought basically all of the stuff that it implied, even from the first couple of episodes, do elevate it as long as it kind of delivers on that.
Indeed. So. Awesome. That's the end of our discussion of this episode. Do we pop any polls at any point?
Yep, we have a couple polls. I will.
Ooh, check those out.
I will read them whenever the results decide to load. Waiting. I don't know why the internet is being so fucking slow, but suddenly it is.
Is someone possibly scripting, entering results into them as we speak, Vorgelia?
Possibly. Here are the polls for episode
beep,
5.
Boop, beep, beep, boop. Ah, sorry, my computer noises. Sorry, I'll mute them.
which is the best Ray face? So far, 100% of the votes have the "I am the traitor" face, and no one has voted for "I'm not the traitor," which might be the one I'd pick. That's the dash underscore dash face.
Maybe it wasn't me.
Next. A Muppet has snuck into the studio.
Oh, God damn it.
Would you ever disobey Emma? 67% say fuck no. 33 say maybe I'd try. But yeah, 67 I think are gonna, their arms will be safe and unbroken.
When I voted in that, the percentages were basically opposite. 67 were yeah, maybe.
And then the scripting happened, so there we go.
What the fuck?
Fools.
You people have hearts made of bricks.
Well, speaking as someone who has no heart, period, I'll weigh in on that and say that I am of the opinion that if there is genuine reason to go against Emma's opinion, because it will genuinely get them fucking killed or severely hurt, then you should.
No, Shadon, hair, not heart. Hair, different words.
You start to say they're the same thing. I lost them both simultaneously. It's a complete coincidence. But yeah, like that again ties back into the drama thing. Like I'm actually okay with that conceptually because that will, in of itself, if executed well, be interesting to watch and tense to watch. Like Emma's principles are certainly going to be tested at some point, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
you would. Norman's.
Yeah, you would. Like I think we talked about this earlier that it's really setting up this dichotomy of utilitarianism, sort of moral. Like I think it came out of Britain. It's a moral philosophy that's very much about like. Well, the good thing, the best thing is the thing that grants the most amount of happiness, or conversely, the least amount of pain to the greatest number of people, versus Emma's more deontological system of ethics, which is very much like it doesn't really operate in terms of good and bad, and there are things that are more and less good and bad. Emma seems to be operating under the notion of right. There's right and wrong, and to leave these kids behind is wrong. Therefore, we must absolutely not do it.
Yeah, for Emma, it wouldn't matter if there was, say, the amount of kids there are there now, like 4 dozen, however many are, 500, 2,000. It wouldn't matter to her. She would try and take them anyway.
Yeah, no one must suffer. And that will be tested as we go further along, right? Like you're saying.
Having said that, though, I'm wondering, would Emma, if they run into like a different farm, would Emma want to save those children?
I would probably say so.
You would.
I don't think
suspect,
so.
But I don't. I don't
know. That's the interesting bit.
I think for me, like the way I see it is that she would at very least consider it. I think that she would certainly voice the idea, even if ultimately it isn't followed through on. Yeah. That's the kind of person she is. But I must stress, it's okay for Emma to be wrong in this show. I'm not saying I want it to be wrong, because ultimately I very much fall in line with her idea in that, pragmatics be damned, everyone should have the chance to live. And if they all die, at least they got to die giving the demons this little fucking middle finger of, we're not going quietly into the night. Yeah. So, I'm okay with being wrong, because it has to be used for narratively justifiable purposes rather than, she fucks up, look at that.
Yeah, any true kind of leader, and just whether or not she is like the full brains behind the operation, like in terms of like the moral compass and the will to rally the troops and push that, like I feel like she's kind of the de facto leader, and any story about leader like that, like her leadership has got to be tested at some point. She's going to fail, and indeed, how she bounce back from that,
Indeed. Let me throw out a random reference here. You might be thinking, what the fuck is he talking about, if you've not already been thinking that. Just saying. So let's talk about Star Trek the original series. We're going now.
Oh fuck, sorry,
not that one.
Original series. Oh my god. Okay.
Now here's the thing about the original series, right? 3 principal characters: Kirk, Spock, Bones. And in a lot of episodes...
Is that a complete sentence, or...?
It could be.
Kirk, Bones, Spock.
I'm saying that's happened in some slash fic.
I see what you did.
Although whether or not it's a twosome or a menage a trois depends on the fic in question.
I'm sorry, I'm a child. I have nothing to contribute to this wonderful analysis of this show.
So
please continue.
Okay, so little quick story time. I actually recently rewatched the original series episode Balance of Terror when I was on the plane coming back from Chicago. I'm not going to go into length out because we're not ultimately reviewing an episode of this podcast, but in that episode you have, of course, the 3 principal characters. Kirk captains the ship, you have Spock and Bones, who are his 2 advisors. If not, literally, but otherwise in, terms of their friendships. And the idea behind those 2 is they offered very different perspectives. Spock, of course, if you're familiar with Star Trek, all logic. Bones, pragmatic and humanist. What are the consequences of this? Logic be damned, it's still going to, cause harm to people. And Kirk have to actually, he had to actually struggle with decisions at times. He had to, figure his way out. He was uncertain. And this, to me, is the template for the kind of protagonist that I like in fiction. I don't care for protagonists who are always 100% certain all the way through. Now, I'm not saying that can't work. I'm saying in a lot of schlock action that I enjoy, that's the case. So that's fine. But I think that, it speaks better to humanity for people to be uncertain, but then to at least think and fight their way out of it. To make mistakes, but to get back up, because that's what happens to us in real life. Granted, fiction is escapism, so, if people don't want that, that's fine. But that's why I'm also okay with it in this scenario as it is with a lot of other fiction. Characters are allowed to fail. They're allowed to fuck up. Because then they will, rise above it. Standard, film arc. Character, fucking, let's think.
Luke Skywalker.
So,
yep.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker.
Characters are allowed to walk into a 50s diner and complain about sand.
Always.
In space.
That's always, yes. No matter where the story is taking place.
Characters are allowed to drink tequila and go wild, just like in Star Wars.
I thought that was a fucking Superman 3 reference, and that shows how old I am. Jesus.
Oh my god.
Because he literally gets hammered in a bar. Anyway, never mind. So that's my long, tortured point about...
Picard,
I'm into
yes.
it.
Let's talk about Picard, because he's amazing.
God, that's great. But that's the thing, that's why I'm now much more on board with the show, even though I kind of already was. And I still really liked it, but now it's transcended from just being simply a well-executed piece of fiction to a well-executed, emotionally engaging piece of fiction. So, let's go. All right, scores on the doors, John. Vorgelia.
Oh my god, me. I don't I don't have anything special. I don't have a Sugoi.
You always have a Sugoi.
Fucking Mads Mikkelsen that doesn't want to die. I don't have a gimmick today. It's not been great. So I'll come up with something later. And I haven't been talking a lot. I guess I liked it. There's no... Sorry. It's not been a great day. But this has been an amazing episode. There's no crone. There are children. And they talk. Right? Give it up.
That's fair.
I'll say like this. You mentioned that this episode introduces an interesting aspect for you, the kind of interpersonal kind of drama, the kind of conflicts in between the group of children and things that would come up from that stuff. And that's actually something I didn't want this show to get into that much. Oh, because that's too stressful for my brain. I want the children to do well. I want them to do fine. I want them to have some kind of stuff, but not like all of them have these sorts of flaws that basically screws everything up. And basically, for me, it kind of might stray away from the chess game that is easy to kind of watch and is not as stressful as, oh my god, I don't want the children to go into a big misunderstanding. Like, especially, like, immediately when Norman was like, hey, Ray, you're the traitor. And I didn't catch up on the kind of, on the ruse there. It was basically, oh no, are we going to have, like, fucking, misunderstandings and stuff? That's the kind of stuff I don't want to see. But whatever. That's that's not really a point against the show. I'm not gonna take
It's a matter of personal taste.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take away Sugoi's from that because the show does what it wants to do, and it's still wonderful.
How many Sugois?
All the Sugois.
That'll do.
I'm gonna go a 4.5. God damn it! I had my object and then I forgot it. 4.5. I don't know, PSPs that Mom gave to Ray for being a good boy out of 5. Yeah, great episode. As well. Yes. So like I got all into this pretty early. Like I found myself attaching to the characters, and like. I don't know, in a weird way, the puzzle box just got me more interested in the characters because it just made me think, like, man, this seems really competent. Like, I feel safe, like, investing in these characters. I feel like they're being written with a hand that, I don't know, kind of is not going to waste them or their potential. So I've been all in pretty early to the characters, and like I loved everything about the episode. Really, it just there wasn't really, I don't know, a really high, so I don't want to give it the full 5, but 4.5. I was engaged all throughout. I'll say I docked like half a point or a quarter of a point for like camera work that I was like, maybe this is a little indulgent, but yeah, no, great episode.
Indeed. I'll wrap this up by saying that I'm going to give this episode 4.25 child genius floor maps out of 5.
Dude, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah. I know that seems like I'm not giving it much, given I've rated other episodes similarly before. But there were things that did feel a little bit confusing.
That's why ratings are dumb.
Well,
that's why I don't like them.
That's why we spend nearly 2 hours talking about before we get to the rate.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't think it's like it's like not a scientific. It's like, what's your emotional response to the episode?
So here's the thing, right? Like, there were moments in this episode that confused me or didn't feel like they were well thought out. And funnily enough, even though she wasn't in said episode, a lot of that was due to Sister Crone, or just, things that I feel like were abridged from the manga or even in mid. But this is where it's starting to kick into high gear. This is where we're starting to get people getting to logheads with each other. I'm not interested in conflict for its own sake, as long as it's narratively and dramatically satisfying. And to its credit, this was great, like following up from the previous episode's cliffhanger. So, yeah, I'll keep it up to that anyway. Right. We unfortunately have to call it now, but thank you all very much for listening. It's been great having you again, as always. Our Twitter links are in the doobly-doo somewhere. You know where we all are.
Announcement, sorry. Yes, you can find me at twitter.com/Vorgelia, but in 5 minutes, you can find me at twitch.tv/Vorgelia. I'm going to play Tekken for like an hour or so.
Awesome.
So come say hi.
Nice.
I don't think any of these nerds are going to be there, so I'm going to be myself.
Continue the Neverland discussion while watching Tekken.
Indeed. So go get yourself a rising uppercut over there. Whatever the move names are.
It's a Hadoken. Come on.
I know that Paul Phoenix is a character, but that's it. Anyway, so
a ninja says, "Get over here." That's what happens.
Death Fist, yes. Oh God. Right, but anyway, thank you all so much as always, Joyce. We'll be back next week for episode 6, when hopefully things continue to ratchet up a bit more, and hopefully Crone doesn't appear at fucking all. But until then, as always, everyone, I've been Shadon, that's been Doc, and that somewhere over there has been Vorgelia.
Oh my God.
Thank you all again so much, and embrace each other, everyone. It's the end of the universe. Good night.
No te rindas, la luz te espera. Mwah.
What he said.
Did he mispronounce that like massively or what? Oh my God. That's so embarrassing, honestly. Shit. Sugoi.